Hello everyone, been a while. Well, I've got a review, but not of a game. It's of a cartoon episode. Time for some backstory. So, I recently was able to watch a cartoon show from Disney called The Ghost and Molly McGee. It came out It started airing episodes in October of last year. And, well, sadly, I wasn't really able to watch it. I didn't even know it existed until a little bit halfway through this year, in around June. But when I did, I wanted to watch it. When I finally got to watch it, I binged all the episodes I could, and ever since then have been keeping up to date with the show, as it has revealed as its episode that came out. And this Saturday will be the season 1 finale of the show. So, as I'm excited for that, I have decided to review what I find is my least favorite episode of the show, which originally wasn't the case, but after some hard consideration and rethinking of this episode, I've realized, and rewatching it, I have realized that this is not a great episode. So, what is it? It is... Well, first of all, before I tell you the worst episode, might as well explain the plot of the show. So the plot of the show primarily is that you follow the family called the McGees. The main character being Molly McGee, who is an optimistic tween who, as their family moves to Brighton, and when they move to their house, they find out that it's haunted by a ghost named Scratch. Scratch tries to curse Molly and trying to get her to leave. But since Molly basically considers the curse into being her friend, because it's literally he'll be there with her wherever she goes. So Scratch can be called in by Molly, which means that Scratch is basically cursed with Molly. And that's basically how most of the plot of the episodes follow. Now, the worst episode is Scratch the Surface. It's also paired with Friend Off, but Friend Off is actually a good episode and really great. While Scratch the Surface I thought was average at the time, but has decreased as I thought about it more. Rewatched it and thought of even more issues, and realized that this 11-minute segment of a full episode, that's also the first parter of it, because it's one of those few ones where both episodes are actually connected to each other, is not good. But hey, let's get into it. Okay? So here's my review of The Ghost and Molly McGee, Episode 9, Scratch the Surface. Friend Off not really be involved because I already have seen it. Well, I've seen it. I've seen both these episodes, but it's actually a good episode. So let's get to it. Okay. So we start the episode with Molly and Libby talking. Molly about to tell her about a wonderful adventure she had with Scratch, But Scratch immediately stops her, saying that no, they can't tell her about the adventures they have together because she doesn't know Scratch exists. Molly then has to make up an excuse of where Scratch tries helping her, which basically is finding a rainbow-scented candle for her mother, Sharon, by going to Brighton, then Perfectborg, then Oklahoma, I think was the third one, I forgot, and then the Callum or whatever, with Scratch constantly saying further. Libby gives a suspicious look before seeming to go along with the lie. And after that, we cut to the McGee household, where Scratch basically says why Molly needs to keep lying, because if everyone doesn't think he's scary, which is the reason why you don't want Libby to know about his existence, because he'll be less scary, then he'll be sent to the flow of failed phantoms. Ghost purgatory, basically. But Molly can't ask any more questions about that because Libby shows up with a rainbow-scented candle, a giant rainbow-scented candle for Sharon, claiming that she went to the candle shop of a person that she knows the name of. I forgot the name of the person. And asked if they've seen it, which they said they haven't. Okay, so, first issue about this plot is... What? Okay. So the first issue is... So, let me get this straight. She also says she made this candle herself because they didn't know what she was talking about. Now, the time lapse, while not immediately stated, being the fact that Molly is already complaining about having to lie about Libby already. Obviously, that means obviously, it can't be too long since she lied to Libby. I would say at least maybe an hour tops. And if that's the case, then... Okay, that would probably mean that... So, let's talk about what Libby would have to do. So she would have to go to a candle store, right? Well, Molly mentioned 4 places. And obviously, if she went to... And I think since she knows the name, I think you're supposed to assume she went to a candle store in Brighton. Which wouldn't really make sense because if Molly went to 4 places including Brighton, and neither of the places had the candle, then why would she assume going to a candle store would even make sense to? Obviously, they didn't have it, which is why she went to the other places. Also, she also made this giant candle, which, first of all, she has no reason to know the size since Molly, I don't think, ever went with the size. But even if she did, and Libby had to make this giant-ass candle, how in the hell did she make this giant-ass candle of not knowing how it even really would have looked like? In time, I would think a lot of this would take a while to do, but Libby did it like a pro and immediately lugged it all the way over to the McGee household. But ignoring that, after that, Molly convinces Sharon to go along with the lie, and Sharon goes, "Thanks for it." And then Molly acts suspicious, pushes Libby out, saying thank you, and Libby's suspicions are now levitated more that she shall find out what Molly is hiding. After that, Molly adds another worry about how she can't be Libby's friend if she keeps lying, if she has to keep lying to her. Scratch saying maybe Libby needs a new best friend, and then goes to sleep. Molly then spends the entire night thinking up and strategizing a new plan. Okay, so when Scratch wakes up, she tells him her master plan, which is to dress up as a new friend for Libby, who is a cousin who lives in Canada named Millie. Now, okay, that is alright. She also drew herself and drew a picture of Millie with a blue hair wig that she also, I guess, made, since it never appeared beforehand or after this point, or after this episode. So she also did that. She also drew pictures of Libby and Scratch, despite having no reason to draw those, but okay. Then Scratch points out how her plan to stop the lying is to put in an even bigger lie, which Molly hushes him into complying by saying it's either this or tell the truth. And I'm just like, he has a point though? Why are you doing this? Why is your plan this extreme? But okay, I guess it could work if you're smart enough with it. I'm a little skeptical, but hey, it could work. Anyway, the next school day, Millie is here. I mean, I'm a little questionable of, does her family know about this plan? Why would her parents, Pete and Sharon, possibly be okay with her randomly changing her entire attire and also being a completely different name? But, okay. Anyways, Millie, so Libby asks Millie about where she's from. And Millie immediately doesn't know. Molly then goes to Scratch to ask for help, and he obliges. Okay, big issue here. Molly, why in the ever-living hell did you not research this? So, let me get this straight. Let's get this straight. Molly decided to do this, say that Millie is from Canada. Okay? Why? She also did this in an earlier episode, Hooray for Mollywood, where she told Scratch, where when they were trying to pretend to Olivia that Scratch is just a kid with a sheet over his head to be the ghost for the horror movie they're making, that he's from Canada. better because the onus is on Scratch to do the work of pretending. Plus, Libby's not really that questionable on Scratch in that episode, other than like one point at the end of the episode. While here, the onus is on her, and she doesn't know anything about Canada. Which, why would you pretend that you're from a place you don't know? And also, if you are going to, why are you not doing damn research? Like, and plus the question that, unlike the other plans Libby will have that we'll talk about, the question here is a question that Molly should expect to be asked, because it's literally where you're from, which is something you would expect someone to ask you if you're from a different place they're not. So why would you not look up? It probably would take 2 minutes to, and you stayed up the entire night, so I don't know why you didn't look this up. What the hell, Mo? Your entire plan hinges on you pretending to be someone from Canada. So why the actual hell would you not research Canada? Huh? But, okay. Pretend ignoring that, she gets Scratch to help answer questions like she's from Naipen, Ontario. Ontario, Naipen. She's also from... And then Libby asks Molly if it's close to Toronto, which, after Scratch helps, says that it is something miles to be exact. Forgot the exact calc. But the reason why it's important to say miles is because then she immediately is about to say about, oh, interesting you're doing miles. And then Scratch interrupts to say that no, they use kilometers, which then Molly makes an excuse for that she commuted the miles for her fellow American friend Libby to know. Which, okay, here's the nitpick. Libby interrupts herself when Scratch talks, which, keep in mind, she can't hear or see Scratch, so why did she interrupt herself? Interruptions of speak only happen when you actually hear someone also talking half the time. But she wouldn't hear this. So wouldn't she be talking at the same time Scratch would be talking? Assume if we couldn't hear or see Scratch like she can. She just goes, miles. Now that's interesting. See, it seems weird, you know? Seems odd that she interrupts herself, but ignoring that nitpick, after that, she says, it seems you're very knowledgeable about Canada, and they leave. To the cafeteria. We cut to the cafeteria, where they get food, and Molly says how she loves this American food cheeseburger, or whatever. It's a burger at least. Okay, and then we get Libby being a dumbass. Oh, don't worry, you think Molly was the only one being a dumbass? Nope, Libby's doing it too. Because Libby decided that it made perfect sense. Okay, here's Libby's plan for another proof that Molly and Millie are the same person. She pulls out a giant maple syrup bottle and says how and says that being Canadian, obviously you like maple syrup. And Molly doesn't like maple syrup, which I would assume Libby would probably know if she's best friends with Molly. So obviously there's that. But okay, so because of the stereotype that maple syrup, Canadians like maple syrup, suddenly you think the entire populace of Canada likes maple syrup because of the stereotype. Okay, but here's the worst thing. She then, without the consent of Molly, pours it on her cheeseburger, which, I'm sorry, would delude yourself even more because no Canadian would eat fucking cheeseburger and maple syrup together. No. And secondly, she literally pours like way more maple syrup than you probably would need to even eat that cheeseburger. Even having a little version of the container and doing a little bit more, which, okay, like, the episode seems to want me to seem like she's knowledgeable of Canada, at least a little bit, to the point where I would assume that this whole, that she doesn't believe that every Canadian likes maple syrup. But guess what that would probably entail? That means she's a bitch, because you're telling me that the crime Molly did to her, being lying or hiding something from her, is enough for her to torture her by having her eat something she obviously knows she doesn't like. Yeah, I think I would at least like to go with the charitable option of she just assumes the stereotype is true and the entire populace of Canada likes maple syrup, because if not, then yeah, she's kind of being a bitch here. But okay. Molly struggles with trying to eat it, which, first of all, why does Molly even decide to go along with this? Like, why? What, Millie doesn't like maple syrups? And because apparently she's Canadian, that would go against her blood, so I guess that must mean she's American, and that also must mean she's Molly. I don't know why she's going along with it, but she tries, and from Libby's perspective, it seems like she ate it, which she's shocked by. And I'm just like, okay, so you're obviously thinking she's Molly at this point, right? If so, then why would you think she would give up at this point? If anything, she might have just ate this thing. Also, if you're shocked that she did it for the lie, then also I'm shocked that you only are just shocked she did it and not worried that she might have did something terrible, because she ate way more maple syrup than I think anyone needs to. Now, luckily for her and Molly didn't actually eat it. Scratch went inside her and ate it for her. So, okay. Crisis averted, I guess, right? Well, we got Libby's second plan, which makes less sense than the other two. The other two were based on her being a Canadian. You know, a simple thing of, okay, well, she's Canadian, so she might like these things, and if she doesn't, Molly, red flag. I already told you why the second one didn't make sense, but, red flag. This has literally zero to do with her being Canadian, with Millie being Canadian. Yet somehow this is another proof that Molly and Millie must be the same person, because Molly doesn't like stage magic, so she takes her to a street magician because she doesn't like street magic. And apparently it would be coincidental if both Millie and Molly liked it. But because because they're cousins. And I'm just like, what? 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 So because they're cousins, it would be coincidental for them to share a hatred for street magic. What? Why? Why would that be coincidental? Sure, you realize people can have a similar hatred. Family members can have similar hatreds. In fact, I'm sure there's cousins who have a similar hatred for something. So why would this be evidence that Molly and Millie are the same person confirmed? Anyways, so after, again, this is just her knowing. Anyways, so here's the biggest issue with this episode entirely. Now, and that's the fact that obviously how this episode work is that the character from these bad, Molly being a dumbass and not being able to answer believably, the character will be able to eventually, figure that out and eventually deduce their suspicion is true. Here's the issue, though. And then they can confront them. Here's the issue, though. Libby's already thinking Molly and Millie are the same person before she even asked the "where are you from" question. Like, she's immediately already suspicious of this. Why are you not confronting her now? Why are you asking all these questions and torturing your friend? Like, I'm sorry, but you're literally doing things she doesn't like to get your answer that you already know. Just confront her. I doubt Molly would be able to keep lying if you kept on hounding her instead of doing this question thing and pretending like you believe when you don't, and doing things that Molly doesn't like to torture her, I guess. Because I guess, even though you're friends, I guess torturing her because she's hiding something is enough of a crime to torture her, I guess. Okay. So, after that, Molly basically says how she can't keep lying to Scratch, and Scratch doesn't want her to, and Scratch has. And then they do a joke where Scratch says that he has worked out a backstory for a new character for Molly to play. Maui from Tallahassee. With a parrot named Paul. Or a bird named Paul, I don't know. Anyway, ironically, even though this is a joke that Molly doesn't do, Scratch's concept for a character makes far better sense than Molly's plan. And I don't even know how Scratch even workshopped this plan immediately anyways. But somehow he did, and he did it better than the one who literally spent an entire night planning it. So, good on you, Scratch. Anyways, so, suddenly, Molly goes with the idea that, hey, that must mean that I need to never see Libby again. Libby then rings the door to come in, and Molly and Scratch are shocked about this. Why? You're telling me neither of you two assholes realize that maybe Libby might be onto you, so she might want to go to your house. Plus, why would she not want to visit you? Like, even if she wasn't onto you. Why are you shocked? Plus, Molly then goes with the galaxy brain idea of, we'll just hide here until she leaves. Where we are currently in Molly's bedroom. Where I would assume you would think Libby would be there to hang out with Molly. Or Millie in this case. So, why would you assume Libby would not enter your own damn bedroom? God damn, Molly does not have a brain in this damn episode, apparently. Anyways, Molly and Scratch leave, and Libby finds some ectoplasm and leaves to go chase. After a chase scene, Libby confronts Molly finally, which she should have did like a few, like 4 minutes into the episode. But, okay. Anyways, she confronts Molly and goes with you must have an Eastern brain slug on your head, and you hide that with the blue wig. Which, why would you assume that? One of the reasons is because of her great Canadian accent when she just talks like normal Molly and only said A once. But, okay. Libby's knowledge of Canada seems to fluctuate constantly. But alright. Anyways, she thinks the blue wig is covering this. When did she think Molly contracted this Canadian brain slug? Because she literally talked to Molly at the start of this episode when she didn't even have this blue wig, where she started acting suspicious already. So, what? Okay. Apparently. Anyways, Molly says she doesn't have that. Libby says that means she must not want to be her friend anymore. Molly says that's not the case. Libby starts to leave. Molly begs Scratch to let her tell Libby about his existence. Scratch, after feeling bad, decides to let her do it, but just Libby. And Molly tells Libby about Scratch, where she faints. And then after that, the episode's done, and we move on to the second part of this episode called Friend Off, which, while I'm not going into detail like I did this episode, is way better. And has nothing to do, and Molly isn't as brain dead as she is in this episode. Overall, this episode has so many damn flaws, and now I can't look at this episode the same way I could previously. This episode has way too many flaws. Plus, there's also the issue that Molly has been smart with planning before. Molly literally in the greatest concert ever, she was able to pinpoint everything about where Kenny Starr was going to be, other than the fact that he would have a stunt double, and had all this information on where he would be, almost like a stalker. So, and she stayed up all night to research a lot about Abraham Lincoln, and realizing that's too much information. But she couldn't research where she would be from Canada theoretically. Molly's just an idiot. Libby's plans make no sense and have her torture her so-called friend just because she's hiding something from her. And Scratch is alright. So yeah, this episode kind of sucks. But hey, overall this series is pretty good. Every show has its dud. And I'm excited for the season finale coming this Saturday. So, yeah. Hope you enjoyed. Maybe I might do another review of something later. I just want to finally post on this channel again. See ya! I'm still working on the next commentary. It's just taking a while. So see ya. This has been me. Bye.